model in our notes, but we're also going to use these manipulatives where red is negative and black is positive. And to remember which is which, you have a visual where it actually has a positive sign on it. But the reason for the colors is because in accounting, when a business is putting numbers into their records, if it's positive, if there's money coming into the company, they make it black. If there's money going out of the company paying bills, they make it red. And that's why Black Friday is called Black Friday, because businesses become in the black. They end up having more money come in. So for the number line, you can show addition on a number line by following these steps. So the first step is before starting any operation, begin at 0. That's not necessarily my strategy for adding in general. When my daughter's doing bedtime math problems and it wants her to add 7 plus 2 more for whatever reason, I don't have her count up to 7 and then count 2 more. I have her start at 7 and then count 2 more. But to show it on a number line, we're always going to start at 0. Now we're going to move on the number line to the first number. So we'll go to the first number, and then we're going to move to the right, or up the number line, the proper number of times to add a positive number. And we have to show that movement. So you can either do what you'll see as like bounces, or you can do just straight line going from the 0 to that first number, and you're going to have an arrow showing the direction of that movement. Or you're going to move to the left, the proper number of times if it's a negative number. So for this very first example, we have negative 6 plus 2. So again, starting at 0, we're going to go negative 6. So I'm going to do the bounces first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And don't forget the arrow shows that you moved from there to the negative 6. And this is plus 2. So plus 2 has us go, fill it out, has us go up 1, 2. And therefore we end up at negative 4. So that's one model on doing this particular addition. It's going down 6 from 0 to negative 6, and then going up the number line 2 spots, you end up at negative 6. The other model is in those bags of parts that you have. Hold on, there's the thing. So we're going to start by having negative 6. So you're actually going to count up 6 negatives. So the negatives are the red pieces. So take 6 red pieces out of your bag. So we're going to have negative 6. And then we're going to add 2 to it after we get the negative 6 counted out. So you take your 6 red pieces, your 6 negatives rather, and you're going to add 2 positives. But what you do is you pair up. Every time you have a positive and a negative, what does it make when it gets paired up? A positive and a negative combined will make what? Yes, sir? 0. So it zeroes them out, and it makes them not worth anything once it's zeroed out. So every time I can pair up a positive and negative, I make a 0 pair, and then I'm left with what after I clear out my zeros?
Negative 4.
Negative 4. I end up with 4 negatives. So this is just another model for doing negative 6 and then plus 2. You should pair them up and say, well, how many do I still have left over? I have 4 negatives left over, negative 4. When I'm doing computations with positive and negative numbers, I actually figure out is it positive or negative first, and I write that down, because otherwise I'm probably going to forget my sign. So a lot of my answer sheets, and I have a positive sign in front, even though it's unneeded, just because I thought about it before I did my calculation. In this particular case, if it was negative -6 degrees and it went up 2 degrees, you're at -4. If I owed someone $6 and then I earned $2 and paid off what I could, I still owe $4. So you also want to make sure it's making sense in like a real situation. For the next one, we have -6 plus -2. So this one, instead of the bounces, I'm just going to do the straight arrow, always starting at 0 though. So I go 0, and then down to -6. And again, showing an arrow, showing that was how I moved. So on tonight's homework, you can choose whether or not you want the bounces or the straight arrows. But on part of tonight's homework, it says to show it on a number line, so you do have to show. Plus, they typically make me go up, but it says plus -2, so that means I have to go down. I have to go to the left 2 more. And we end up at the -8. Trying to make a dotted line type thing. It lines up at the -8 when I go down 2 more. A situational type thing. If I owed one person $6 and I owe someone else $2, that means all together I owe $8. With temperatures, we don't typically think of adding a negative amount. So it's more of an owing money and an owing more money type of situation. It could also be, nope, that's subtract another one. Never mind, I had another thought, but it's gone. With the positive and negative pieces, we're going to have -6 to start again, but then now we're going to add 2 more negatives. So I've got negatives and then I've got more negatives. I end up with -8. So the model with the positive and negative parts of 0, or the black and red chips, sometimes they're called, I would have 6 negatives and then 2 more negatives that I would add in. So now I have 8 negatives. The next problem in the notes has +6 plus -2. Notice sometimes the negative sign is written just right in front. Sometimes they put parentheses around it to make it noticeable that it's not just a subtraction sign. And then sometimes they do this raised negative sign. You gotta really watch out for that. A lot of times people miss that and their answers end up wrong because they didn't notice that negative sign. So for this one, I'm going to do a combo. I'm going to do a straight line, 0 to 6. And then plus makes me usually want to go up, but plus negative, so that means I have to go down 1, 2 spots down. So 6 plus -2 gets me to 4. So a real life scenario is I earned $6 and then someone reminded me I owed $2. So in the end, I still get to keep $4. The positive and negative piece is going to be similar to that first example, except this time we're going to start with 6 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positives. And then I want to add to my 6 positives 2 negatives. And when I do so, 2 of my original 6 positives become zeroed out, leaving me with 4 positives. So that's the model that you could use for dealing with adding positive and negative amounts. There's an algorithm where you're not going to use number lines, you're not going to use pieces, and you've done that before. So with the next 5 problems, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go ahead and either just move yourself along the number line, or you could use your positive, negative pieces, or you could just use your algorithm to find out what you would get when you add these amounts, and so on, for the 5 problems that follow. Alright, so -3 plus 4. -3 plus 4, -3 plus 4, -3 plus 4, -3 plus 4. Huh? I ain't calling you, but you know. No, I was trying to get my steps. That's okay. He's really excited and enthusiastic about the point. So I'm down 3 and I go up 4, it gives me past 0 and 1 past 0. What about if I have 7 plus -6, 7 plus -6? What am I going to get? I have 7 plus negative 6. 1. I'm going to get 1. This time it's because I started by moving up to the 7 and then went back down 6. So I didn't go past 0. I stayed 1 above 0. The next one, negative 3 plus negative 2. Negative 3 plus negative 2. What am I going to get? So negative 3 plus negative 2. Yes, ma'am.
Me?
Yeah.
Negative 5.
You're going to end up with negative 5. And again, situations like that, when I'm adding a negative, I think about, all of a sudden I realize I owe something. So I owe 3, and then I realize I owe 2 as well. So I owe 5 altogether. What about negative 3 plus 2, 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 negative 2. Yes, sir.
1. Oh, negative 1.
Negative 1. So if I did the number line wrong, I'm down 3 below 0, and going up 2 doesn't get me to the positive. I'm still on the negative side. If I owe 3 and I earn 2, I still owe another 1. What about 3 plus negative 9? 3 plus negative 9, 3 plus negative 9,
Negative 6.
I end up with negative 6. I end up with negative 6 for that last one. The gist of it is, if I have positive and negative, I end up with how many extra are positive versus how many extra negative. So down at the bottom, we're going to have the algorithm. So everybody's got the answers, it's all good. You have a question, comment, concern?
On mine, there's like minus signs.
Yep. I just warned you. Better watch out for those raised negative symbols. So some of your worksheets will have the negatives in parentheses. Some of them will have the negatives just sitting out in front. Some of them will have that little negative sign. So you gotta watch out for all those different formats. The gist of it is, when adding numbers of the same sign, add their absolute values, and give the result the same sign. I've got positives and I've got more positives, I combine all the positives. Or I have negatives and I have more negatives, I combine all those negatives. The numbers with the different signs is when we have it move up and down the number line in reverse directions and stuff. So to add numbers with different signs, we're going to subtract their absolute values. And then we have to give the result the sign of the number with the greater absolute value. Do you have more positives or more negatives? So a little mnemonic that I don't know if I came up with or a kid came up with, but if you're adding, this only works for adding. Same sign, find the sum. Same sign, sum. If different signs, find the difference. Different signs, difference. Find the difference if they're different. So there's a little way to remember that. So it's the same sign, you find the sum of those numbers, the number part of it. If they have different signs, you find the difference, and you have to decide if it's positive or negative. So on the practice that's on the back of your worksheet, they actually, for the very first section, they don't even want you to find the value. They just want you to tell if it's positive or negative, or if it's 0. So a lot of times I write down the negative sign or the positive sign before I get started with the sum or the difference part of the absolute values, so I don't mess up the sign. So go ahead and try these problems.